Hello, Internet. We are live. We are the Nerd Ledger. We are the nerds. I'm Cage. That's Chair. This is Chase. He's my dog. He's hanging out with
Chair,
me
yeah.
today.
You guys can't see my dog because I don't have my cam on because I'm paranoid.
Oh, that's right.
But if you could see my dog, she's chilling on the bed right now, just relaxing.
Yeah, my dog is needy. He's needy, aren't you? Yeah, you're needy.
They tend to be like that sometimes.
Yeah. Anyway, how are you doing today, sir?
Good, I'm still alive, chilling, just working back in the office full time. Over this cold I've had, I'm probably the sickest I've been since COVID-19.
Ugh.
Coughing tons. Yeah, I was basically out of work for like a week.
Yeah, everyone's
Because I was
getting
coughing.
sick.
That's what happens during the wintertime. Um, so I Yeah, I'm getting feeling better now. Started taking my dog on walks again. So yeah, we're just plugging along. Back at the office, just chilling right now.
Yeah, perfect.
Yep.
Well, I arrived home to find that a package has been stolen from my front porch.
As would be, yep. Yep. Surprised
So
your complex doesn't have like a drop off area, like boxes or something.
Oh, it's not really. I mean, you've been here, but there's no
Yeah.
office or anything. It's not like a complex.
Okay.
It's like,
Okay.
yeah. So, bro, why are you staring
Yep.
at me? Jesus, this dog is so needy. Anyway, so there's that, and then I also have
Mm.
a very quick update on my vehicle. Okay,
Mm.
I'm not going through the whole story again. I'll just say it's been at the shop for over a month, and they
Mm.
just got approval to order parts.
Mm.
So I
Did they
will
get
get
the
my
total?
car back in 6 to 8 weeks.
There you go. Well, at least you have a designated time now. At least that probably helps a lot.
Not really.
Yeah.
not when my insurance will only cover a week or two of a car rental.
Mm.
And so by my math, I don't have $3,000 to $4,000 to spend on renting a car. But
Mm.
hey,
Did you talk to your insurance agent about that? Ask if there was like an
not
extension
yet.
or
I'm
an
gonna
increase?
wait because
Okay.
I'm not gonna rent it until I have to.
Yeah,
So
that's how you definitely should deal with these kind of things. Wait until the very last moment. Anyway, though, so anyway, let's moving on from that. Uh, what else is going on? I'm glad you're getting it fixed though, and at least like and the other person had insurance. I'm sure that makes it a lot easier. Are you gonna get your deposit back or whatever? Your 1K
well, I haven't
obligation
paid
you
it
need to pay?
yet, but
No.
from my understanding of how things are going currently,
Mm-hmm.
since I filed with my insurance first, they'll go through the process, and then I'll probably still have to pay my deductible, and then they'll go after the other insurance. They'll like send them a thing or whatever to get the money
Mm-hmm.
back, and then they'll refund me. That's how I think it's gonna work.
Okay.
But it shouldn't work that way because they should just waive the deductible and go after them, but they won't
Yeah.
because it's insurance.
Yeah. Because their
So
insurance, yeah, and the entire system's essentially a scam now. So. Or at least
yeah,
not a scam, but it's designed to it's suck money out of as much money as possible, like most systems in the country, unfortunately, these days. So here
yeah.
we are.
Here we are. And then oh, I was talking to Phoenix this week,
Hmm.
and she started watching some movies um wrongly.
No,
So
what is she
she's
watching?
like, I think she sings someone, and they wanted her to
Mm,
get into Lord of the Rings. Uh,
mm,
and so he's like, hey, watch the Hobbit movies first. The fuck? Do you want her to hate
mm.
it?
Yeah.
Like, and she was kind of like she's just saying she was kind of bored with it and whatever, and like the movies are really long and it makes her not want to watch Lord of the Rings. And I'm like, well, yeah. I was like, even though the Hobbit book came out first, the movies came out after and tried to build on pretty much the established world that Peter Jackson made in the Lord of the Rings. So you miss so much if you don't have that beforehand, really.
Mm,
Like in my opinion, like whereas like with the books, like they explain far more, and obviously like The Hobbit was, I mean, it was meant to be more of a children's book, and then it
Mm.
evolved into more adult literature through the Lord of the Rings, and so it's very different. And so I don't understand watching the Hobbit movies first for any reason whatsoever, or just watching them in general for
Yeah.
any reason whatsoever. But I mean, I like the first one, but that's about
Mm.
it. Like, it just Peter Jackson lost his way. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. No, Rio and I have talked about this a couple times. Is a huge Lord of the Rings fan. Like, she knows her shit about the lore and everything like that. She always gives commentary when she's like, in chat. And just the Hobbit movies are bad. Like, they're just straight up like, they're not fun to like. That last movie especially is a really rough watch. Like, it's just an action movie. It doesn't feel like Lord of the Rings at all. It feels like some dumb fantasy action movie.
No, and
And
I don't hate.
the first movie was good because it had everything to do with the books, and the second movie was great too. Like, I wish they would have
Nah, I don't
condensed
like it.
everything into the second movie. I like the opening and the transitions. Like, I thought the barrel chase scene was like, a little silly, but still, like, they did travel downriver and wine barrels. That is something that did happen.
Yeah, but it's not
Um,
just
you know,
that. It's the whole like I don't mind Tariel as a character.
mhm.
I don't get the relationship with Keeley. I don't like it. I hate it. It doesn't make any sense, and I just despise it.
Yeah, for sure. Like, it does feel a little forced, and like, like because there's essentially no love scenes in the
Well,
there's
and
no
they
love scenes in the
I think the Keeley Tariel thing is Peter Jackson fundamentally misunderstanding Gimli and Galadriel. To be honest,
mm,
like I think he wishes he would have done more with that. But the way that he did it in the Lord of the Rings was perfect because it is like Gimli, like he's not in love with Galadriel. He doesn't want to marry her and be with her, but like she is like I mean, like she, like when he thinks of anything like beautiful, like it's her, you know? Like
yeah.
and that's kind of like bro, he wants to like murder Aomer for speaking poorly about her even though they've never met. You know, like
Yeah.
that kind of shit. Like, but he's not in love with her, and like this whole like Keely and Tario falling in love and all this shit. Like, bro, it's not Romeo and Juliet. We don't need all this kind of fucking like
Yeah.
forbidden love bullshit. Like, I don't like it.
Yeah,
It doesn't add
for
anything to
sure.
the
Like,
story. It doesn't benefit anybody. It doesn't accomplish anything. It's just bad.
yeah, yeah.
Which reminds me also because I've seen some revisionism on the internet recently of people saying that the 2015's Fantastic Four wasn't that bad. Uh, it was like it's
Yeah.
unfortunate because it shouldn't have been right. It had a very good cast. You know, I thought the cast was good. I thought parts of the movie were decent, but ultimately the movie just accomplishes nothing. It doesn't do anything. It does, there's no story. It just exists.
Mm.
Like yeah. Anyway, so there's that stuff. That's it. You know, that's all the rambling I have. But there's some nerd news, and we'll talk about that real
Mm.
quick before we talk about Echo. We're gonna talk about Echo today. We're gonna do a full discussion about Echo. Um,
Yeah. There's
but
no like
yeah,
other nerd news or anything else going on, I don't think. Not that I've
nude
heard.
news, nude
Nerd news.
nude
Yeah.
nerds. What?
Nerd news. There's no nerd news.
There is nerd news.
Oh, which what you got?
Um,
A lot. I got layoffs at like everywhere in tech and like in some gaming companies, but that's really about it. And just a
yeah,
sign of the times, baby.
but that's not really nerd news. That's just news about
Mm.
nerds. Um, but yeah, hold on. I'll talk about it. So, um, apparently the Batman sequel has a production start date. I don't think anybody cares about that. Um,
Mm.
but bro, I hate articles. Okay, the film is supposed to come out next year in October. There you go. There's some fun fucking bullshit. Um, Also, Alaqua, how do you say Echo actress's name? Do you know?
No.
Okay, Alequa Cox. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it.
Mm.
She was like interviewed or something, and she was like asked who she would most like to like collaborate with in the MCU or like have a team up with. And surprise, surprise, she said Scarlet Witch. Um, so I don't know how that would come about, but I guess that could be cool. And she did say that she thinks there will be more like Daredevil crossovers in the future, obviously. And we'll talk about that more because when we talk about the series. Also, Madam Web, they that movie's coming out on Valentine's Day. Yeah, dude, Madam Web. Can't wait for more Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man in it.
Yep.
They released its runtime. Apparently, it's going to be 1 hour and 56 minutes long. I don't know why this is news, but it's news, so I'm talking about it. Also, She-Hulk actress Tatiana Maslany says the MCU series is probably not going to come back. No surprise there.
Yeah.
Andor season
Despite us
2.
both enjoying it, I could see why it wouldn't though.
Yeah.
Because it's just
Yeah.
it was good. It was good, not great. And even the lady said, I think I remember I read that headline. She said they burned through their budget. So that's always an issue, with CGI and stuff like that with tech. You say you get an initial quote and then the quote goes up and up as the work actually deepens because you realize how technically involved it is.
Yeah,
Which is
that's probably going to
unfortunate,
be
but
what happens to my car too.
yeah.
Andor season 2 is days away from wrapping production, which is good news. That means that it should be out relatively soon. Don't care about any of that. Here was an interesting. I'll end with this one because it was an interesting report.
Going back to Andor really quick, they said that this one's going to lead right into Rogue One, right?
Don't know. Maybe they said that. I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish I could tell you, but I didn't read the article.
Yeah.
I can bring it up and see if they say that or not. Let's see.
It's all good. We'll figure it out when it comes.
Andor star Diego Luna has confirmed that principal photography on the Star Wars series second season, second and final, so that leads into what you were saying, I'm guessing, is nearly complete. He said the good thing about Andor is that we know it has an ending, and it's nice to work knowing there's an ending and you can aim for something, and we're getting there. I have a few days to shoot. I have 7 days. Tomorrow I'm flying back to London and we're finishing this. So he said that like yesterday or something. Andor. Okay, just says Andor season 2 brings Cassian's story full circle. Season 2 will cover the subsequent 4 years. Okay, season 1 takes place 5 years before the events of Rogue One. Season 2 will cover the subsequent 4 years, leading directly into the events of the 2016 film. There you go. So just like what you said. See? You know things.
Sometimes I know things.
Yeah, so I'll end with this because it kind of ties a bunch of different things together. One of those things is we talked a little bit about how like the Netflix Marvel series are now like officially canon. And I kind of commented like they were always intended to be canon kind of thing. But obviously I do know that Marvel, as they kind of worked through things, had said that they're not all of a sudden canon anymore, that they're like other like worlds kind of stories and whatever. And they ended up bringing them back into canon as they reworked Daredevil Born Again. And so part of that was when they weren't quote unquote canon. There were reports that for what is it called? The relaunch of Daredevil? What is it? I don't fucking know.
I wouldn't know what to call it either, to be honest. Like they're just retconning things and trying to fit them into their story.
Yeah, but apparently not.
So
apparently it's like fully canon now. And but when it wasn't, there were like all these stories and like interviews with like people from the original Daredevil series, right? Like Deborah Ann Woll, who plays.
One sec.
Oh, Okay. We're 1 second. Chair is having an emergency. Maybe someone knocked on his door. Maybe he left the stove on. Maybe he knocked his bong over. Um, Maybe he started peeing a little bit and realized it wasn't just going to be a little bit and ran to the toilet. Maybe his dog is taking a shit on his bed. Maybe he just forgot that he was starving and needed to eat, so he ran to the store.
I'm back now. My dad, Dad, can you close the door, please? Okay, well, you have to okay. Artemis, come on. Come on. Yeah, it's too late now. She already knows. Dad, just
So
close the door, Dad.
it sounds like
You gotta hang out with you.
someone was at the door.
Yeah. Yeah. My dad, when my dad starts thinking about food, he doesn't really care about what else is going on. So he came in here to ask me if I could order a pizza for him and then go get it for him. But it's like I'm doing something, and then I'm doing something people right after that. So sorry. Anyway,
All right. Well, yeah. So like I was saying, like during the time where like technically like Daredevil Born Again wasn't gonna be like it was gonna be new canon and like all the old Netflix stuff wasn't. There were like interviews with like Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson, who played Foggy, Nelson, and Karen Page in Daredevil in the Netflix series. And like they were saying they don't know if they'll be able to come back, but they would love to. And there are all these rumors that they weren't coming back, and all these stories that they weren't. Daredevil Born Again is going to be a new thing, kind of thing.
Yeah,
And
I
now
remember
that they've
Deborah Ann Woll was talking about that because she did some Dungeons and Dragons stuff actually with Critical Role. She was doing some D&D stuff, trying to get her own Twitch shows started. But honestly, her D&D production was just so overproduced, like kind of took away from the charm of the D&D experience. So
yeah.
it really failed to launch, unfortunately. So, and she was saying that she had a lot of anxiety because she didn't know if she's ever going to be able to work. Like, she went all in on Daredevil, and yeah, so that really sucks. And hopefully, they can all get. I'm glad they're all landing. Some of them are landing on their feet. I haven't seen her in the show yet, though. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, and so her and so Karen Page and Foggy, the actors and actresses who played them weren't on the initial cast list for Born Again, and so now that Daredevil and all the Netflix shows are going to be quote unquote canon again, which again to me they always were, but whatever. There's an industry insider. I don't give a shit about those people, but apparently this insider has said that they will be returning for Born Again. And so take that for what you will. Again, I don't believe insiders necessarily. I think like there's always some truth to what they say, but it could just literally be nothing. Like it could just be an idea that was tossed around and then they never do anything with it, kind of thing, But yeah, this guy reports that Deborah Ann Woll and Eldon Henson's addition to Born Again comes as a result of the creative overhaul that saw Dario Scadapan take over as showrunner of the Disney Plus series. That said, it's currently unclear how big a role Karen or Foggy will have in the new show. And this insider cautions that they may only be in the first episode. Anyway, so yeah, we'll have
Didn't
to
they
see.
gonna kill him off?
I don't know. I mean, my guess is if that's the case, if it's like a thing where it's like they're only in one episode, it'll be Matt Murdock leaving New York. But that won't happen because, well, we'll talk about that in a second as well. We'll talk about Echo now.
Okay.
We'll talk about Echo now.
All right. Good old
so
Echo.
Anybody who hasn't watched Echo, there will be spoilers here going forward. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you can come back later if you want to hear our conversation after you've watched Echo. If you haven't watched Echo and you don't care about being spoiled, you can hang around. And if you have watched it, then you don't care about being spoiled. So yeah, there's your disclaimer. Echo. I saw maybe 3 or 4 different reactions to Echo online.
I didn't see any because I don't watch that shit anymore. So God bless you
I try
for
to
going
avoid
to that
it.
toxic ways.
I try to avoid it too, but one of those is that the show was just okay. One of them was that the show was awful. One of them was that people really enjoyed it, and the last and most egregious one is I might be getting one guide with this because I did see, but I saw other people saying similar things.
Mm.
So one person said they should have found. They said instead of hiring a disabled person to act, they should have found someone who can actually act. And then other people, like, not really on that level, but other people were saying like the supporting cast wasn't very good and shit. Honestly, bro, I thought the show
I
was
disagree
great.
with that.
Yeah, the
Yeah, I
fuck,
thought the show was
bro.
pretty.
I thought the lead
It's not.
actress was
It's
actually
not
very
like.
good.
Yeah, it's not Daredevil levels of good, but it was definitely really enjoyable. Like the
Yeah.
last episode was like a little corny because like they beat the shit out of the henchmen and like crunch them to death in a car, but Kingpin gets like the fixing treatment. We'll
Okay.
talk about
All
that.
right.
I don't know if we have enough time to go over each and every
We
episode because we
won't
only
we
got
won't
30
but
minutes. Yeah,
but
but
the show does a lot of things very well. A lot of things very
yes.
well. It balances its story. I think that despite everything, the acting is very good. Like I
Hmm.
think the main actress is very good.
Yeah, and
Like I think
some of
people
the
are judging
supporting.
her as if she should be able to fucking talk and she isn't deaf.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
she's acting as a character who is deaf, and that sold it for
Hard.
me, bro. Like
There,
that's
the ASL on the show was great. Like it really was. Like someone I took an ASL class for so I'm not like a dedicated speaker, but like I took a class for summer, and one of the things that we had to go to San Francisco to like go to visit a cafe that was ASL only. And like, it's just like that. Like, there's expression, there's emotion there when they do it. Like, it's just it's a language. It really is. It's its
mhm.
own version of a language. So anyone who says otherwise and didn't appreciate that in the show, which really did come through, is just you're missing out, bud. That's all I'm going to say. Anyway,
Yeah.
please continue with whatever you were saying.
I mean, I thought that the cast was very good, or like
Yeah,
all of it, and I guess one of the things that
honestly,
like, go ahead.
go ahead. No, I was gonna say my favorite character isn't even Maya. It's that dude who owns the roller skate ring. I really like that
Oh
guy. Like
yeah,
I don't know why. There's
yeah,
there's something about him that I just like really enjoy.
yeah. I mean, him even like Biscuits is just like comic relief, funny guy,
Yeah.
but no, like I thought the cast was very good. And I guess like one of the things obviously that people are gonna compare is comics to the show. So for people who don't know, like Maya Lopez in comics, Echo, isn't super different from this, but her power set is pretty different.
Mm,
So in comics, I mean, she's an incredible lip reader. So like she wouldn't even need the sign language in comics.
okay.
But the for the show they works right the way they do it works, and then even later when Kingpin like gives her the technology thing, like you can't do those kind of things without like if she can just read lips right perfectly.
Yeah.
So there's that. Another one of her powers is that like she can mimic people's moves like when they're fighting, like
Hmm.
exactly. Similar to Taskmaster, but not exactly, right? Like Taskmaster can like mimic your entire fighting style, but like
Yeah.
anyway. So there's that, and then another big difference, and this is only in some comics, and it does kind of come up in the last episode. Echo becomes the host for the Phoenix Force at a certain point. And some of the powers she has in the finale are kind of similar to like Phoenix powers.
Mm.
So there's that. Dang, my wife looking hot, yo.
There you go.
Sheesh. Bro, I mean, I might need a 5 minute. I'm just kidding.
Keep it family friendly, buddy. Come on,
Bro, we're not
man.
family friendly here. There's a big
You
E
know,
for explicit on every podcast.
good.
So,
Very important. Anyway, please continue.
but yeah, so, man, I forgot what I was gonna say. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so her power set is a bit different, but obviously they're gonna adapt that anyway to make it work for their story, which I think is good. Daredevil was only a small cameo, but it was fucking cool as shit. So I enjoyed that. And obviously Vincent D'Onofrio always kind of brings a new level as Kingpin. So it's always good to see him back. But honestly, like even without those characters, I think this show would still hold up because it's still just a very good grounded story, and they put storytelling before everything else, I think, and that's important.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't have any major issues except for like, the last episode felt a little rushed because I feel like this probably needed to be more than 5 episodes. But
Yeah,
I
there's,
started watching the first episode and I was immediately hooked. Like, like I didn't like I normally sometimes like I have my phone and talk with my online friends like, while I'm watching the show or something like that. But this time like I put my phone down for the first 2 episodes and I was just watching it. Like, I really like the relationship that Maya has with Kingpin. Vincent D'Onofrio or whatever his name is, not William Dafoe, is an amazing actor, and he obviously really loves doing Kingpin, So, and there's a lot of really good stuff there, and just the young Maya was great, and those first action sequences were intense, where she like, you could hear that dude's heartbeat, and she breaks her neck, and then Murdoch shows up, and they get into a fight, and she doesn't beat him up, which is like, what would have made me upset if like, she just started fighting this, like, Daredevil and was able to like fight him no problem, beat the shit out of him. But she was
yeah.
able to hold her own, like, not get her shit kicked in. So that was like that was a cool thing to see, and then we just followed her progress, as she continued through everything. I really need to go. I think I need to go back and rewatch Hawkeye because I don't remember a lot of it, and I don't remember her
They
like
showed a lot
being
of
in it.
it in this. I mean, at least the parts
Yeah,
pertaining to her, but
yeah,
yeah. I mean, essentially, Hawkeye was she was hunting him because she thought he killed her dad, but it was Kingpin who killed her dad.
yeah, yeah.
And yeah, so that's about that's. I don't know if you need to rewatch Hawkeye for that, but you should rewatch it just because you like it.
No,
Did you like it?
Hawkeye. No, I don't remember if I liked Hawkeye or
Oh,
not.
all right. Well, um, but yeah, I think just like there's so much here, like not only with the ASL stuff, but also culturally for Native Americans and the Choctaw people,
Yep.
um, and th- on top of
People who
that,
are deaf.
yeah,
People who are deaf. Like it's another thing too. Like and she's got one leg, so it's just great. And she was like a total badass. And again, like that leg came to her advantage a lot of the time. Like like when she was fighting Daredevil, and like Daredevil tried to like break that shin, and it was like it was her, not their leg. And he was like, wait, what the fuck? Because he couldn't tell because he's blind.
yeah,
No, it was funny that they worked that in, and also funny that like that it's like it's just great. Like I definitely enjoyed many parts about this.
yeah. Also, for maybe people who don't know, Daredevil and Echo do have a relationship in comics because
Ooh,
Daredevil, much like Iron Man, bro, this dude gets down. So I'm saying, you don't want to know how many girlfriends Matt Murdock has had.
wasn't he Catholic? What the hell?
Oh well, I mean, he's also the devil of Hell's Kitchen, so I don't know what I don't know how
Yeah,
you know. Yeah, I don't think he cares about sex before marriage because he's had a lot of it. So
yeah, it seems to be the thing.
it
Well,
do be that way.
either way though, like the guy who plays Matthew Murdock is awesome.
Yeah,
Even when he was there for his one little cameo, it was really cool. Like it was a really cool little cameo. And
yeah,
we're gonna have to do an episode by episode breakdown soon. Obviously, we're not gonna be able to cover most of it today, so just want to do like episode 1 and 2, probably be the best bet.
I mean, I don't think we need to even break it down. I think we just share our
Yeah,
thoughts on the series,
yeah.
because
I'm trying to think about anything specific that really spoke to me. And
well, it's the
there's not really a
it's the strength of Echo to me is the story about like it's the small moments, the relationships she's had with her grandmother, with her
mm,
community, with her uncle, like
yeah,
all these people like from her childhood that she feels like abandoned her,
yeah,
and all those little moments that they have now, but also just kind of understanding like how she grew up and how to her like Kingpin was everything. Like he was a hero to her. He was a savior. He was
yeah.
he was
That
her
so
only real
there was
family.
there was a scene when they were leaving, where Maya, the Echo, is leaving a school, and like this fucking ice cream guy was like yelling at her because she can't speak because she's deaf.
Yeah.
And then Vincent, like Kingpin got out of the car and beat the shit out of this dude, and then Maya came and started kicking him, and like they bonded over that. It was really fucked up, but also like it's just a very powerful scene. How they
Yeah,
like
bro. You know
Kingpin,
what was really
Kingpin. This is this is probably like one of the very few people that Kingpin actually cares about. Like
yeah.
honestly.
You know, it was like, bro, it's super fucked up. Like,
Yeah.
he had that sign language interpreter for like 20 years,
Yeah.
and they just fucking murdered her.
Yeah, dude. Kingpin, yeah, he's definitely a huge piece of shit. Like,
Like,
there's no doubt about that.
yeah, that was very,
That was really intense. It was a really intense
yeah,
scene too.
it's
Where
powerful.
you could hear her begging, you hear her begging in the background, but Maya couldn't hear her because she's deaf.
Yeah,
And, stuff like that.
and they just got the fucking plastic and shit set up just to roll her up clean. Fucking, you know, that's crazy. But then, like, I think the roller rink episode was really good as well,
Yeah. Yeah.
where like she's just she's going kind of hardcore, but then like ultimately she loses.
Mm.
So like I guess going back, like the plot of this starting is kind of just like she
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 she learns
realizes
that Kingpin
Kingpin,
killed her father.
right,
Yeah.
and so she doesn't like Kingpin and she's trying to get revenge, and she blows up his munitions factory,
Mm.
which then somehow they know it's her.
Yeah. Well,
Because the guy
no,
the
they
guy
don't.
called in the tip, the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
employee.
Yeah. That's what happened. Yeah, he called in the tip. They have like an employee there who's working cleaning skates and stuff like that, and he saw that it was Maya.
Yeah, because her uncle, the guy who owns the roller rink, I think, like he also
Yeah,
technically works for Kingpin.
yeah, he owns a rail yard that like things go in and out of like up
Yeah,
there.
so he helps him smuggle shit.
Yep, yeah, and
Um,
he
Henry,
was
his
like
name's Henry, right? Henry.
yeah, he was like one of my personal favorites during the whole show. I don't know why, but I just really liked him. Like I liked the guy. I like his actor. Like the
Yeah,
guy who's playing him. I liked how he was very very expressive when he's signing. Just everything like just all of it was really good.
yeah. Um, but yeah, essentially that's what happens, and then these people, Kingpin's men come after her. They eventually get to her. Kingpin shows up.
Mm,
He's like trying to win her back, and like all this shit. And when he finds out he can't, then he targets her family, and then she and there's like this undertone and understory of like all her ancestors and shit, like her direct line of ancestors, that were like just powerful, like her like the original lady was like a dryad or some shit. like a
no.
god dryad thing.
Yeah, that's another thing I forgot to mention. Like too, like they were basically naked in that first episode. I was surprised how like like direct they were with that. And then like they immediately as soon as they came out of the cave, they had clothes on, which I was like,
Yeah,
ah, you fucking pussies. But but they were basically in that when they were in that cave, they were getting tight suits and stuff like that. They were basically nude. So that was pretty
yeah,
dope. Like Disney was going to go that far.
yeah. I mean, well, and it's still like it's their first project under the spotlight banner kind of thing, and
Mm,
so I don't know what it actually means to be like, but whatever. It's their TVMA rated R banner or some shit,
mm,
but yeah. So all of her like the finale, which I agree, it does feel a bit rushed, and it's always like you always kind of question when the final episode of a series is like the shortest episode.
yeah,
Like it doesn't seem necessary. Like just make it longer. Take your time.
yeah. Take
Um,
your time, especially with this. Like when you have something good like this.
yeah.
And the powwow was really cool. They had a Choctaw powwow, obviously, like it was a movie, so they probably like hired like all and they probably hired like all these people, or maybe I don't know, maybe they went to an actual powwow and recorded it, but it was just really cool, And
Yeah.
again, I like that uncle when he winks at that dude and fucking dumbs him with that pistol. I just thought he was such a bad. Oh
Yeah.
man, I really like that guy.
Yeah. I
That
liked him quite a lot as well. And like
yeah.
when people are saying like the supporting cast wasn't very good or whatever, like I just thought about that guy. I was like, bro, this like he's very good. Like and most of the
Yeah,
other
yeah,
supporting
like
cast is very good too.
they're probably referencing like again like the fuck up like cousin that lives at the house like that like
Biscuits
he
is
fucked up the
fine.
Yeah, yeah. He wasn't that strong, but I don't say he was. I'm not gonna say he's bad either. He's
Yeah,
definitely not my fave, but like he wasn't like the worst. And it's just like the mix of stuff. Like again, like all the Native American like culture and stuff like that was really cool to see. Like the powwow was really
yeah,
dope, and also another thing, like, dude, that guy running that event and like them just driving through in that RV, like and parking in the vendor parking. Obviously, they have never worked an event before because they would be yelling and screaming at them. Like
absolutely,
they would be
absolutely.
fucking like people would be on that case like this dude's just parking his fucking RV here, and they would call the cops. Okay, like that would not happen at an actual event ran by Americans. Okay, so that was
Well,
that was a
yeah,
little that was a little cheesy, but aside from that, like I like how much of a dick that dude was. Um,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And then obviously, like the finale is like Maya kind of like taps into all her ancestors that she's been like dreaming about and like having visions about, and like gets their power, which again to me is very similar to the Phoenix Force thing.
Mm.
And I really appreciate that like she could have killed Kingpin if she wanted to, but instead she chooses like
The
compassion
higher path,
and
the hero path.
brings him back to like the moment of his like trauma.
Prompt, yeah.
And bro, I thought that
That's
was
so
very
great.
powerful.
It was a really good scene for sure. There's no doubt about that. Again, like I just think it's so funny how like one half of her power is her tapping into her like her felt like her grandma and her sister who she's related to and giving them like her badass fighting skills. But and the other half is like oh, I'm so sorry, Kingpin. Like, oh man, you're so traumatized. Like, oh man, I'm so sorry. I don't know. I just hate
Well,
that.
it's
Like, I wish
because Maya's also traumatized, but she chose better, you know? And so I
yeah,
think she
yeah,
wants to give that same opportunity to Kingpin, which weakened him for the time being. But let's be honest, bro, he ain't changing. He ain't changing.
yeah, yeah. He's Kingpin.
And we
Like,
know he's not changing. So you saw
if
the
anything,
post
it'll
credit
make him
scene, right?
worse. No, I did not actually. I need to go see that. I saw where he was in the car driving away. I scrolled through, but maybe I was so tired that I'll go back and watch
Bro,
it.
it's
But you
pretty
can
short.
spell it.
It's pretty short.
You can spell it for me now. Like, what is it?
So it's just him talking. He's like on a plane. He's talking to somebody, and they're talking about like uh, the mayoral election or some shit.
Mm,
And pretty much it
okay,
implies that Kingpin's gonna run to be mayor. Um,
of New York.
yeah, of New York.
Yeah.
And that's what brings me to when I said it's not likely that Matt Murdock is gonna leave,
Mm,
because Kingpin as mayor of New York is a big storyline in comics called Devil's Reign,
mm.
and it's a big event, or not event, but it's a big storyline, and Kingpin does a bunch
Spider-Man.
of.
I'm sure it brings Spider-Man into it and stuff like that. And
It's just a huge
Kingpin's such
event.
a
Like he tries to outlaw
yeah,
superheroes and shit, and like, yeah, a lot of crazy shit happens in Devil's Reign. But
yeah.
you know,
Kingpin seems like a really well likable villain. Like I don't know, it's because he was in Into the Spider-Verse too, and he was really good in like Kingpin like as a character was really good in Into the Spider-Verse.
yeah, I mean, he's like one of the like literally the main villain of most of the Spider-Man animated series from the '90s.
Mm,
And I mean, there's just Kingpin is part of so many great comic book stories, like
mm,
in not just like if you think about like ground level heroes and like street crime and shit, like Kingpin's at the top, right? Obviously, he's Kingpin, and he's involved in all of that stuff. Even one of my one of my favorite parts of a story that people hate, which is One More Day. It's where Spider-Man, um, Aunt May gets killed,
yep.
and Spider-Man is married to MJ, and they have a baby on the way. Uh, and when Aunt May dies, he knows Kingpin will know who did it, and so he gets the black suit, the symbiote suit, and he breaks into the prison and just like starts beating the shit out of everybody, and then he beats Kingpin within like an inch of his life and shit, just to find out who killed his aunt. And the end
Mm,
of that story is he makes a deal with Mephisto to bring Aunt May back, and he will lose his marriage with Mary Jane and their unborn child, and she'll never know that they were married. Which is a lot like everyone forgetting who Spider-Man or who Peter Parker is,
mm.
in No Way Home. So, But people hated that story. Hey, I don't want to get into it. Michael, oh, what's his name? Straczynski, one of the writers, just death threats all the time over it. Like, it's crazy, bro. Comic book fans are another level of crackhead.
Yeah, I remember what is it when that like they wrote in to have that Robin killed because he was like everyone hated him.
Yeah,
Like I
Jason
remember
Todd.
reading that and I
Yeah,
was like, yeah, I
and
was
then
like, damn.
DC listened to him. They put out a poll and had people vote on it, and people all voted
Yeah,
to have him killed off. Yeah,
yeah. So that's just lets you know they're always out for blood. Yeah,
yeah. When they don't like characters, man, they really don't like them. So,
yeah.
but
But
yeah,
what else from this series is really good? The powwow, a lot of again the Native American culture. I like the grandpa a lot. He's kind of like his like old man redneck Tony Stark in a way.
yeah. But he's
Um,
funny, and
yeah,
he's like charming, you know. But he's like
yep,
married
yep,
into the
yep,
family, so he doesn't really like have a say. So he's just like trying to like be the wise, guy in the background.
yep.
So, um,
Um, the
oh,
train
also
scene
Maya
was
Maya gets her she gets a pretty comic book accurate costume at the end of the series. Well, like in the
yeah,
finale.
yeah,
So,
her powwow.
get up, yeah.
I've actually been told like calling it a getup or a costume is actually offensive. Like when they're at the powwow and doing stuff, but like it is a superhero costume. So yeah,
Yeah. Her
garments.
native
There we go.
attire.
There you go.
Authentic attire. Um
Authentic native attire. Yeah,
but
and
yeah,
it was
yeah,
pretty
the
good.
train scene was cool.
Yeah, it was, and um, you know, again, her powers seem a little convenient for right now, not very well defined. But we'll just have
Um
to wait and see what happens. Like, because like one time, like she opened that lock for no reason other than because she's what she needed to do in the moment. And then, the time she's like passing on her powers to her people who are right there, and other time she's like trying to heal someone's trauma. So,
well, I mean,
so
she's not
you
she's
know,
not like a therapist, you know. She's just like, hey, Kingpin, look
what
at
she wouldn't do his brain and try to do therapy stuff. So,
make a better choice. Yeah, that's kind of what she said, you
yeah,
know.
yeah,
But Kingpin was he's too far gone. He's too far gone. So,
yeah, yeah.
but yeah, I mean the story does it's the same thing. Like when I talk about like anything that I think is good, and I think a lot of people view it the same way, even though they can't put words to it. But like when you have a story that's kind of grounded, like that's what really appeals to me, and that's why
Mm,
like that's what makes this story or this series good in my opinion. Whereas like so many stories tend to get away from the human element, like, and that's what makes them bad. And that's how I feel about like the new Star Wars movies a lot. Is like they get away from the human element that the original trilogy had. You know,
mm.
like even the prequels do it a little bit, but I don't know. Like it feels like there's not like some things are just they just kind of feel soulless, you know.
Yeah, for sure. Like, all, some of the stuff that the like in She-Hulk were kind of like, some of those episodes felt a little soulless. Like some of them weren't very entertaining and just boring and stuff like that, and some of them had a lot of heart. So
Yeah,
yeah, there's another MCU show that felt really soulless, but I can't remember which one it was. I'll probably
Secret
remember that later.
Invasion.
Yep. Oh yeah, yeah.
I don't think. I think Marvel grew to such a height that now people have such an expectation of it that like anything that's not groundbreaking, I think is viewed as bad. Like if it's not breaking new ground, if it's not doing anything incredible, if there aren't like a million amazing cameos to make audiences show up in videos on the internet, like people will then say, well, it wasn't very good.
Mm,
And Marvel has fallen off and all this shit, and it's like, and that's a consequence of becoming a major success and then having not so much success the past couple of years. So anything that isn't like, again, like, I say it all the time when I review shows that I think I'll say, oh, it was good, but it wasn't groundbreaking. It didn't do anything that special, whatever. And I think that Marvel fans view it as if it's not special, it's bad. Like in because that's a standard that they're used to, right? Um, and I think a lot of people do this kind of like revisionism thing where like they think leading up to Endgame everything was perfect, which we know wasn't the case, right? Like there were movies in there that were just okay. But as long as they're doing something and contributing to the universe and expanding how things work, and they all get tied together in the end, and people are happy. The problem is now people don't know what's happening, where it's going. Everything is kind of spread out in all these different directions,
Mm.
and it hasn't been tied together yet. So nobody is that interested. And that was kind of the case beforehand too.
Yeah.
Like,
Well, I mean, at least we had the Defenders, though. Like they tried to bring this shit together, and the MCU was its own thing. And I think that's like, again, a real problem when they just gutted the Defenders and like it was in limbo for so long that people forgot about the effect. Like how good the Defenders were and how much everybody enjoyed Luke Cage and Jessica Jones. My sister and my mom loved Jessica Jones. They really
yeah,
loved
the
it.
first season of Jessica
Um,
Jones is really good.
Daredevil, that first season is legendary, bro. Like it's just legendary. Like I'm gonna go back and watch it soon because I feel like I need to re-experience it because I can remember in my brain. Maybe I have some parts about it that I don't like. Like parts in my brain, like that I want to get my mind together on these things. Oh,
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, think about it, bro. Like Daredevil came out almost 10 years ago.
yeah, I know it makes me feel old. I really liked Luke Cage too. I know a lot of people didn't like it because people
Now,
are
Luke Cage
racist,
is
but I
great.
really,
I only
yeah, I
watched
love.
season one, but it was really good. It was really good.
And I only think the only missed opportunity was Golden Fist, and I think or what's his name, Iron
Rattlesnake?
Fist. The Iron
Oh.
Fist. No, no,
Oh,
no.
Iron Fist.
What's it called?
Golden
Yeah, that's what
Fist.
it's called. That's what it's called, right? The
Uh,
Iron Fist.
yeah, Iron Fist.
Yeah, and I think it was a missed opportunity because it took itself too seriously because like the whole plot was just so ridiculous. You think it would have been more fun than
Yeah,
the other
they
shows,
made
which were
Danny
very gritty.
Rand too serious of a character in a lot of
Yeah,
ways, but I still
yeah. Because
didn't
the
hate
first
it.
ep the yeah, because the first episode channeled like all this happy-go-lucky campy energy, and then like it all went away immediately. And you're right, I didn't hate it, but I just thought it was weak. And then in the Defenders, like we got a much more like entertaining Danny Rand who's just loving life and hanging out with the other Defenders and having a good time.
Yeah, I mean, he's still
So
like very serious, but at the same time, like they do like kind of like make him the butt of some jokes, because like
yeah.
they kind of make the fact that he takes himself so seriously kind of funny.
Hmm.
So, but yeah, like I think that Marvel is definitely capable of recreating that kind of magic.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
it's just like it's an unfortunate symptom of their success that like shows like Echo, because it was just okay, it wasn't incredible. People will just forget about it or bypass it, and like it'll kind of just be like another Marvel project that came out, right?
Yeah.
And so you know it's like the problem is like everybody wants the universe to continue expanding because we want all these different stories, but then the more you expand it, the harder it is to do those big tie-in events because people are like, oh well, why weren't these characters in them? Why weren't these characters in them? And it's like we thought with the Netflix stuff they were building like these street level heroes that they could then do crossovers with other major things right in the future as well. But then I think there was a lot of conversation during the Marvel thing, like during the Netflix experiment kind of thing, that like people were questioning and asking like, will we ever see Daredevil with the Avengers?
Yeah.
And the unfortunate thing is like we haven't. We saw him at least with Spider-Man, but
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm hoping that Spider-Man thing is just an edging of things to come. Like, I hope we get Luke Cage back, and I hope we get Jessica Jones back. Like, I just don't know though. Like, we'll see because those shows were a little bit more violent than what Disney is used to. And again, like, I bet with Deadpool 3, like if it comes out, it's a major smash hit. Maybe Disney will be willing to let the Marvel stuff be more violent and be for adults. But
well, I
until
mean, like it's so easy with characters like
mm,
Daredevil and even She-Hulk. Like, bro, literally have any character go to court for any reason. Like you could bring either or both of those characters in. They're lawyers.
yeah,
Like, come on, guys. Like it's not that hard, right? So there's that. But um, you know, even like if you think about like Endgame, no, Infinity War, right? Where
Yeah,
like the Black Order are coming down and they're like arriving in New York and shit, and like, bro, why couldn't we just see like the Defenders show up and like help out a little bit, like as a small little like less than a minute cameo, right?
yeah,
It's probably because in reality that's very expensive. But
yeah,
like in in our fantasy world, right? Like why wouldn't they show up? I mean, Spider-Man's there fighting, Hulk is there, and Doctor Strange and Iron Man, and like all these characters are there on the streets of New York. But why don't we see Daredevil fighting some henchmen, or Luke Cage
yeah,
pulling people out of a building that just crumbled or whatever, right?
yeah.
Like, I know that's very easy to do in a panel in a comic book and much more difficult and expensive to do in a movie, but it's like
Mm.
there's those opportunities always. And like how you make it really cheap is like you plan those things way ahead, and while you're filming the TV shows, like when they filmed Daredevil Born Again, they got Charlie Cox there, bro. Just film a random scene and then just randomly insert it into a movie later, you know?
Yeah. I just think it's gonna be. I don't know. We'll just have to see how this all goes.
Yeah.
I need to get going soon.
Yeah, it's all good.
There's gonna be a lot of people at this event tonight, so I need to make sure I'm 100%. But yeah, overall, we'll probably talk more about Echo next week because we're getting on a little bit of a time crunch right now.
I mean, I feel like we said everything we need to say, but
Yeah, but it was okay. I'd say again definitely a 7 or 8, not like a 9 or 10, but definitely like it was good. I
yeah, it's
enjoyed
good.
watching it. I wouldn't go back and rewatch it like I want to rewatch the first season of Daredevil, but I just think it was like a good thing to watch. Like it was nice to have something to watch like consecutively. So
Yeah, it was very good.
mm.
But anyway, that's gonna wrap us up here. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Share your thoughts if you'd like. YouTube, Twitch, all podcast platforms you could follow, you could subscribe, you could click like buttons, you could rate and review, and we appreciate all of it. Much love. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.
Bye.